That's better. There we go. There we go. It's a good one too, I believe. That's a very good one. That is a nice fish right there. On the Berkley Swamp Lord, a nice 4-pounder there to start off. Guys, we're going to talk about flipping a frog today. I was out here and I wanted to throw a Senko under docks, but that's not going to happen with all this weed growth that we have. So we're going to talk about flipping frogs. Stick around, guys. Welcome back to Mark Fisher Outdoors, everybody. I'm Mark Fisher. That was interesting where I caught that last fish, because that first blow up did not seem like that big a fish. And then that other one, then the one that I caught, it could have been the same fish. You may be thinking, hey, Mark, I thought today we were supposed to be talking about flipping frogs, and we are. I mean, I'm gonna get to that, but we had this patch out here, and I'm not gonna just not fish it. But what I'm getting to is that my intent was to come out here and just skip a Senko underneath docks, but when I got out here, the docks were so just weeded over that there was no way to throw a Senko in there and have any chance of having any success skipping Senkos under docks. So decided that it would be a good day to talk about, oh, there's another one. It would be a good day to talk about skipping frogs. We've done some frog episodes before, and just kind of putting this all together, you know. Like I was saying, you know, right now we got a patch of coontail, milfoil, and then there's some lily pads in it, so that mixture of different kinds of grasses, that's a place to look. But we're getting over to this dock here, and you can definitely, to learn how to do, if you don't, is just knowing how to skip docks with a frog, because those fish that hang out underneath those docks, they're still there just because they get covered up with weeds. And the next best way to catch those fish is just skipping or flipping a frog underneath the docks. And I tell you what, there is nothing like skipping that frog underneath the dock or a pontoon boat or willow tree or something like that, and hearing the echo of that frog when it blows up on that frog. You can't even see it, but you know it's there. Speaking of willow trees, we got this right now. So I'm gonna kind of try and get my bait up in that shade underneath that willow tree and work that frog right back. Those are all very good places. Now look at this. So moving up, I got shade under the willow tree, I got duckweed, matted grass, and lily pads. So back to flipping or skipping frogs underneath docks and branches and things. This is, guys, this is a technique that you need to learn how to do. Now, granted, it's harder than skipping, say, a Senko with spinning gear. And yeah, you gotta be careful of the backlashes and things like that. But if you are looking to learn how to skip baits with bait casters, to be honest, the frog is the bait to learn that with in the first place, because a frog is not going to get hung on things. If you make an errant cast to a dock using a frog, it's probably just gonna, you know, come out and things like that. It's not gonna get snagged on ropes and things like that. So this is the bait to start practicing skipping on. And again, I'm saying skipping. You're flipping the bait in, but you're trying to get that bait to go as far back as you can. So yeah, you're kind of skipping it, flipping it. There you go. That was a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Now if I can just get bit on that bait, that'll be the perfect example there, right? But these shaded parts of the dock, where these fish are going to be, or right by the posts or things like that. Now the other thing about this that I just did there, but I didn't talk about it, is if when you do that skip, let's see if I can do another one. I'm just going to skip it. Now I skipped it. I'm going to make sure that before I start reeling in, I'm back to a clear spool, and I want to make sure that I'm feeding that line on tight. It isn't, what's going to give me a backlash is less about the skip that I'm making now versus the skip that I made previous to that. If I made a skip or a flip previous and I didn't wind the line on it successfully and smoothly, the next cast is going to be the one that's a problem. So every time I make a pitch, I'm checking, oh, that's bad, so I'm gonna pull it out, make sure that I got it good, and make sure that the line is going on it smoothly. Like I said earlier, I love pitching under pontoon boats. I've had situations where I've caught 4 or 5 fish under one pontoon boat throwing a frog. Really, the thing to do when you're skipping baits, when you're skipping a frog, is just keep that thumb, on the bail. You want to be able, the minute something starts to happen, you want to put a stop to it so that it doesn't get out of control. You're going to get a little bit of a backlash, but it's not gonna That skip was very nice, and no backlash on it. I'm using the Berkley Swamp Lord today, and not the popping kind, just the regular skittering or walking kind of bait. I like the Swamp Lord. I've used it a lot this summer, and I like it. It's one of those, it's a soft frog, hollow-bodied frog. I like the hookup percentage I get with the Swamp Lord. I really do. All right, so here's a dock that is got good shade, nice skip underneath that dock. I'm going to try and bring this one a little closer to the post, because I think that if there's a fish, that's likely to be that was a little errant. And you see that I got stuff on my, I'm gonna have to bring that one out because I don't want to leave that in. Sometimes when you got that kind of stuff, if you're making a long cast, if you're just casting a frog and you're making a long cast, it'll kind of jump on you on the next cast, but it won't mess you up. But if you're doing this where you're skipping the bait, you gotta make sure that last one got reeled in properly and fed in properly, or it will absolutely compound on you the next one. And I was talking about throwing the Swamp Lord. I also, like I've talked about in other videos about frogs, I've got a couple of rattles, or not rattles, but a couple of beads and a couple of split shot in there, just to give it a little bit more weight and to give it a little rattling noise. As it's coming through. So again, when you get to a target like this is, if nothing else, it's a good target, meaning there definitely could be a fish underneath there, but it's also a good target to practice on, in terms of, okay, can I get my bait to go as far under that dock as I can? So I'm gonna, okay, that was a miss, so I'm gonna make sure that my spool is clean, because I backlashed a little bit because I had my thumb on the spool getting ready, but boy, I sure expected that to go farther, so I it kind of wrapped up a little bit. And yep, it, you know, it can take a minute to get it out, but it's frustrating. But on the other hand, you're getting better at something and you need to. So boom, I got out of it, and I'm gonna give it another shot. And there was a good skip. My line's in good shape. And I'm coming up. That was an even better skip, meaning or pitch or flip. Got back even farther. The reality is, guys, that fish that are back underneath docks and objects like this, if they're there, you have a much better chance of catching them because they aren't seeing frogs being thrown. It's not like these grass mats out here. These grass mats, if this was a tournament day, there'd be guys fishing frogs all over this, but there just aren't a lot of guys who can throw their baits underneath docks and targets like that. So learn how to do it, and you'll be in a situation where you'll be able to get those fish that live there. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to the channel. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button. We'd appreciate that. And we'll see you again tomorrow on another episode of Mark Fisher Outdoors. Take care.